What would you do if you discovered that the woman you trusted with your child's life was slowly poisoning her every single day? What if I told you that sometimes love transcends death itself, and a mother's protection never truly ends? This is the true story of 9-year-old Ada, her devoted father Emeka, and the stepmother whose jealousy turned deadly. But what happened next will leave you questioning everything. If this is your first time on my channel, please hit that like button and subscribe for more incredible tales. Now, let me take you into a world where evil meets its match in the most unexpected way. 5 years ago in the bustling city of Lagos, where Emeka Okafor lived in a modest but comfortable home with his 9-year-old daughter, Ada. Emeka was a hard-working man who owned a small electronics repair shop, and Ada was the light of his life, the splitting image of her late mother, Kaioma, who had died when Ada was just 4 years old. For 5 long years, Emeka had raised Ada alone, pouring all his love and attention into making sure she never felt the absence of her mother too deeply. He would braid her hair in the mornings, help her with homework in the evenings, and tell her stories about her mother before bed. Ada was a bright, cheerful child with sparkling eyes and an infectious laugh that could light up any room. But loneliness had been Emeka's constant companion. His friends and family had been urging him to remarry, not just for his own happiness, but so Ada could have a mother figure in her life. A child needs a mother, his sister Ngozi would say, and you need a companion, my brother. After much prayer and consideration, Emeka decided it was time. Through a mutual friend, he met Funmi Adebayo, a 28-year-old woman who worked as a secretary in a law firm. Funmi was beautiful, well-spoken, and seemed genuinely interested in both him and Ada. During their courtship, she would bring Ada small gifts and speak kindly to her, often saying, "I've always wanted a daughter like you." Ada, hungry for maternal love, warmed up to Funmi quickly. She would run to greet her when she visited and would proudly show her drawings and school projects. Emeka's heart swelled watching them together, convinced he had found the perfect mother for his precious daughter. After 6 months of courtship, Emeka proposed, and Funmi accepted with tears of joy in her eyes. The wedding was a small but beautiful ceremony, and as Emeka watched Funmi dance with Ada at the reception, he felt complete for the first time in years. Finally, his little family was whole again. But sometimes, the most beautiful facades hide the darkest hearts. The first few weeks after the wedding were blissful. Funmi seemed to settle into her role perfectly, cooking Ada's favorite meals, helping with homework, and even volunteering to walk her to school. Emeka would often catch himself smiling as he watched his wife and daughter together, thanking God for this second chance at happiness. But slowly, almost imperceptibly, things began to change. It started with small things. Funmi would serve Ada smaller portions at dinner, claiming the child was getting chubby. She would forget to pack Ada's lunch for school, leaving the girl hungry until evening. When Emeka wasn't around, Funmi's warm smiles would disappear, replaced by cold, calculating stares. The turning point came one evening when Emeka returned home early from work to surprise his family. As he approached the front door, he heard Funmi's voice, sharp and cruel, coming from inside. "You think your father loves you more than me," Funmi was saying. "You think because you look like that dead woman, you're special? Let me tell you something, you little pest. Your father married me, not your ghost mother. And soon, he'll realize that you're nothing but a burden." Emeka's blood ran cold. Through the window, he could see Ada cowering in the corner, tears streaming down her face. But what happened next made him question if he was seeing things clearly. Because just as Funmi raised her hand to strike Ada, she suddenly stumbled backward, as if pushed by an invisible force. Funmi looked around, confused and frightened, then quickly composed herself when she heard Emeka's key in the lock. "Daddy." Ada ran to him, burying her face in his chest. But when he looked at Funmi questioningly, she simply smiled and said, "Ada had a little accident while playing. Children can be so clumsy, can't they?" That night, Emeka questioned Ada gently, But the child had been so traumatized and confused by what she'd experienced that she couldn't articulate what had happened. All she could say was, "Mama Funmi doesn't like me, Daddy. And sometimes I feel like Mummy is trying to tell me something." Emeka dismissed this as a child's imagination, but a seed of doubt had been planted. As weeks passed, Ada began to change. The bright, cheerful child became withdrawn and fearful. She would flinch when Funmi approached and often refused to eat meals when her stepmother was present. Dark circles appeared under her eyes, and she began losing weight rapidly. Funmi, meanwhile, played the concerned stepmother perfectly whenever Emeka was around. "I'm so worried about Ada," she would say. "She's been acting strange lately. Maybe she needs to see a doctor." But the truth was far more sinister. Funmi had indeed seen Ada as a rival from the moment she married Emeka. She had noticed how completely devoted Emeka was to his daughter, how his eyes would light up when Ada entered the room, how he would drop everything to attend to her needs. This wasn't the maternal love Funmi had expected to feel. This was pure, burning jealousy. In Funmi's twisted mind, as long as Ada existed, she would never have Emeka's complete love and attention. The child was a constant reminder of Kaioma, the wife Emeka had loved deeply and lost tragically. Funmi realized she couldn't compete with a ghost, but she could eliminate the living reminder of that ghost. And so, the unthinkable plan began to form in her mind. Funmi's plan was diabolical in its simplicity. She would slowly poison Ada, making it look like the child was suffering from a mysterious illness. She had researched carefully, learning about substances that could cause gradual organ failure while being nearly undetectable in small doses. She began by adding tiny amounts of cleaning solution to Ada's food when Emeka wasn't looking. Just enough to make the child sick, but not enough to kill her immediately. Ada began experiencing severe stomach pains, nausea, and weakness. When Emeka suggested taking her to the hospital, Funmi was quick to agree, playing the worried stepmother. "Maybe it's just stress from adjusting to having a new mother," Funmi suggested to the doctor, dabbing her eyes with a handkerchief. "Children can be so sensitive to change." The doctor, finding nothing obviously wrong in his initial examination, prescribed mild medication for stomach upset and recommended rest. But Ada's condition continued to deteriorate. What Funmi didn't know was that she was not alone in that house. Strange things began happening that she couldn't explain. Ingredients she had prepared for poisoning Ada would mysteriously spill or disappear. Kitchen cabinets would slam shut just as she reached for harmful substances. And sometimes, late at night, she would hear whispers in the house, a woman's voice speaking in Igbo, the same language Kaioma had spoken. But Funmi, consumed by jealousy and determination, dismissed these incidents as coincidence or stress-induced hallucinations. She increased her efforts, becoming bolder and more desperate. One evening, while Emeka was working late at his shop, Funmi prepared a special dinner for Ada, rice mixed with a significantly larger dose of poison than she had used before. She was determined to end this once and for all. "Ada, come eat your dinner," Funmi called sweetly, setting the plate on the table. "I made your favorite." 9-year-old Ada, weak and thin from weeks of gradual poisoning, approached the table reluctantly. Something felt wrong, though she couldn't name it. As she picked up the spoon, a sudden chill filled the room. The temperature dropped so dramatically that both Ada and Funmi could see their breath. The lights flickered, and then, clear as day, they both heard it, a woman's voice, strong and protective, speaking in Igbo. "Ada, my daughter, do not eat that food. Go to your room now." Ada dropped the spoon and ran, but Funmi stood frozen, staring at the empty air where the voice seemed to have come from. Then, as if guided by an invisible hand, the poisoned plate of rice lifted from the table and smashed against the wall. "Who's there?" Funmi screamed, but only silence answered. That night, as Ada slept peacefully for the first time in weeks, Funmi lay awake, terrified but still determined. She convinced herself that she was having a nervous breakdown from the stress of her plan. Tomorrow, she decided, she would finish what she started, supernatural interference or not. But Kyoma's spirit had other plans. The next morning, Emika left early for an important business meeting, leaving Ada alone with Funmi. This was the moment Funmi had been waiting for, her final opportunity to eliminate her rival without interruption. She prepared a large glass of fruit juice, mixing in enough poison to ensure there would be no recovery this time. But as she approached Ada with the deadly drink, something extraordinary happened. Every electronic device in the house suddenly turned on by itself. The television blared at full volume, the radio crackled with static, and even Emika's old cassette player began playing a song, Kyoma's favorite lullaby that she used to sing to Ada. Funmi stumbled backward, dropping the poisoned juice, which shattered on the floor. But the supernatural activity was just beginning. Pictures of Kyoma throughout the house began to glow with an otherworldly light. The framed wedding photo of Kyoma and Emika fell from the wall, landing perfectly upright on the table in front of Funmi. And then, impossibly, Kyoma's voice filled the house, no longer a whisper but a powerful declaration. Funmi Adebayo, you have brought evil into my home and threatened my child. Your wicked heart is exposed, and your plans will come to nothing. The truth will be revealed, and justice will be served. Ada, instead of being frightened, felt a warm presence surrounding her. For the first time since her mother's death, she felt truly safe and protected. She looked up and, for just a moment, saw the shimmering outline of a woman she recognized from photographs, her mother, Kyoma, standing guard beside her. Funmi, however, was experiencing something entirely different. She felt as if invisible hands were pushing her, pulling her, making it impossible to get near Ada. Every time she tried to approach the child, she would be forced backward by an unseen force. In her desperation and terror, Funmi began screaming, "I'll kill her! I'll kill her! She's in my way! Emika will love only me." But she had forgotten that the walls have ears, and sometimes those ears belong to neighbors. Mrs. Adunni, the elderly woman who lived next door, had heard the commotion. Concerned for Ada's safety, she quickly called Emika and then, fearing for the child's immediate welfare, she called her sons to come and investigate. Meanwhile, in the house, the supernatural activity reached its peak. Every drawer and cabinet flew open, revealing hidden cleaning supplies and poison containers that Funmi had been using. Documents she had researched about untraceable poisons scattered across the floor like evidence presented in a courtroom. And then, in the most shocking revelation of all, Kyoma's spirit guided Ada to a loose floorboard in the bedroom where Funmi had hidden a diary, a detailed record of her poisoning plan, her jealousy, and her determination to eliminate Ada. When Emika arrived home with Mrs. Adunni's sons, they found Funmi cowering in the corner, ranting about ghosts and spirits, while Ada sat calmly in the center of the room, surrounded by all the evidence of her stepmother's evil plan. "Daddy," Ada said simply, "Mummy came back to save me." The evidence was overwhelming. Funmi's diary contained detailed entries about her jealousy, her poisoning schedule, and her escalating determination to kill Ada. The hidden poison containers, the research documents, and Funmi's own hysterical confessions painted a clear picture of attempted murder. But perhaps the most compelling evidence came from an unexpected source. Mrs. Adunni revealed that she had been documenting concerning behavior she had observed for weeks. Funmi's cruel treatment of Ada when Emika wasn't home, the child's declining health, and strange sounds coming from the house. "I kept a record because something didn't feel right," Mrs. Adunni explained to the police. "A woman's intuition, you might say. Or perhaps," she added, glancing at Ada with knowing eyes, "a mother's spirit guided me to protect this child." Funmi was arrested and charged with attempted murder. During her trial, she claimed temporary insanity, insisting that she had been haunted by Kyoma's ghost. Ironically, her claims about supernatural intervention only served to highlight the premeditated nature of her crimes, as documented in her own diary. Emika was devastated by the betrayal but overwhelmed with gratitude that his daughter had been saved. He couldn't explain the supernatural events that had protected Ada, but he didn't need to. Love, he realized, truly transcends death. Ada recovered quickly once the poisoning stopped, her natural vitality returning like sunshine after rain. She began speaking more openly about feeling her mother's presence, not as something frightening, but as a source of comfort and protection. She never really left, did she, Daddy? Ada asked one evening as they sat together, looking at pictures of Kyoma. No, my darling, Emeka replied, finally understanding. A mother's love never leaves. It just changes form. Mrs. Adunni became like a grandmother to Ada, and their small community rallied around the father and daughter, proving that family extends far beyond blood relations. Emeka decided to focus entirely on raising his daughter and building his business, grateful for the second chance at life they had both been given. And sometimes, on quiet evenings when the house was peaceful, both Ada and Emeka would feel a gentle presence, not haunting, but blessing. Kyoma's spirit had fulfilled its purpose, but a mother's love remains eternal, always watching, always protecting. This incredible story reminds us that love is the most powerful force in the universe, strong enough to transcend death itself, and pure enough to overcome even the darkest evil. It teaches us to trust our instincts when something feels wrong, to protect the innocent, and to believe that justice will always prevail, even when it comes from the most unexpected sources. A mother's love knows no boundaries, not even death. And sometimes, the most beautiful guardian angels are the ones we cannot see. What do you think about this story? Have you ever experienced something that made you believe in protection from beyond? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this story moved you, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel for more incredible tales, and share this video with someone who needs to hear about the power of love and protection. Remember, every subscription helps us bring you more amazing stories like this one.